Hello, welcome to Syntech channel. If you haven't subscribed the channel, please click on subscribe button. If you want to get more updates regarding the Syntech, please click on the bell icon so that you can never miss any notification from Syntech.
While building real-world machine learning models, it is quite common to split the dataset into three parts. The training set, and used to train the model, that is, compute the loss and adjust the weights of the model using gradient descent. The validation set, which is used to evaluate the model while training, adjust hyperparameters like learning rate, etc., and pick the best version of the model. And the test set. This is used to compare different models or different types of modeling approaches and report the final accuracy of the model. In the MNIST dataset, there are 60,000 training images and 10,000 test images. The test set is standardized so that different researchers can report the results of their models against the same set of images. Now, since there's no predefined validation set, we must manually split the 60,000 images into training and validation datasets. So now let's define a function that randomly picks a given fraction of the images for the validation set. So we import numpy as np, and then we define a function split indices, which takes in a number n, which is the size of the dataset, and a percentage which we want to set aside for the validation set. So first we calculate the size of the validation set, then we create a random permutation of 0 to n minus 1. So this gives us a random permutation of all the indices in the training set. And then we pick the first n val indices for the validation set. So this is where we do that, and the remaining indices are used as the training data set. So know that it's important to shuffle the indices before creating a validation set, because the training images are often ordered by the target labels. That is, you might have images of zeros followed by images of ones followed by images of twos and so on. So if we were to pick a 20% validation set simply by selecting the last 20% of the images, now the validation set would only consist of images of 8s and 9s, whereas the training set would contain no images of 8s and 9s. So this would make it impossible to train a good model using the training set, which also performs well on the validation set and on real world data. Okay, so now let us use the split indices function to create a set of training and validation indices. Okay, so now let's see how many we have created here. So we have 48,000 indices in the training set and 12,000 indices in the validation set. And these are some sample indices from the validation set, and as you can see, they are picked completely at random. So we have set aside a small portion of 20% to set as the validation set, and we can now create a PyTorch data loader for each of these using a subset random sampler, which samples elements randomly from a given list of indices while generating the batches of data. So we import subset random sampler and we import data loader. The first sampler that we create is for the training set, to which we pass in the training indices, and then we create the training data loader by passing in the dataset, the batch size, which is 100 in this case, and the training sampler. Now the validation loader is almost identical, except that it uses a validation sampler which is created using the validation indices. Okay, so now that we have prepared our data loaders, we can define our model. A logistic regression model is almost identical to a linear regression model. That is, there are weights and bias matrices, and the output is obtained using a simple matrix operation. That is, the prediction is equal to the input multiplied, so there's a matrix multiplication multiplied by the transpose of the weights with the bias added. So if you've seen the linear regression tutorial, this should be pretty obvious. And just as we did with linear regression, we can use nn.linear to create the model instead of defining and initializing the matrices manually. Now, since the nn.linear expects each training example to be a vector, each of the 1 by 28 by 28 image tensors need to be flattened out into a vector of size 784, which is 28 by 28, before being passed into the model. And finally, the output of the model of the model for each image is a vector of size 10, with each element of the vector signifying the probability of a particular target label, that is, the labels 0 to 9. And the predicted label for an image is simply the one with the highest probability. Okay, So let's see how we implement this. So first we import torch.nn as nn. Then this is the input size, which is 28 by 28, and the output size, which is equal to the number of classes, that is 10 in this case, right? And then the model is simply nn.linear with the input size and the number of classes passed into it. Now, of course, this model is a lot larger than our previous model in terms of the number of parameters, right? So let us take a look at the weights and biases. So model.weight is a 10 by 784 matrix, and model.bias is a vector of size 10, right? So although there are a total of 7,850 parameters here, conceptually nothing has changed so far. So let's try and generate some outputs using our model. We'll take the first batch of 100 images from our dataset and pass them into the model. So this is what we're doing here. So we do a for loop with the train loader, and we get back batches of data, which is images and labels. We're also printing out the shape of images just to see what it looks like, and then we pass the images into the model to get the outputs. And finally we break out because we just want to look at the first batch of data. So as you can see, the images are of the shape 100 by 1 by 28 by 28. This is a single image and this is the size of the batch. Now we get an error here which says that there is a size mismatch. The expected size is 784 by 28 by 10, and this seems to be a completely different size here, right? So the error is because the input data does not have the right shape. Our images are of the shape 1 by 28 by 28, but we need them to be vectors of the size 784. So we need to flatten them out. So we'll use the dot reshape method of a tensor, which allows us to effectively view each image as a flat vector without really changing the underlying data. And to include this additional functionality within our model, we need to define a custom model by extending the nn.module class from PyTorch. So we define a class called mnist model, which extends nn.module, and this is a constructor init, and inside the init constructor method we call super. This is just some syntax that we have to follow in Python. This is that we have to call the init method of the super class, and then we instantiate the weights and biases using nn.linear, and we set it inside the .linear attribute of this model. Okay, then we also need to define a forward method. So this is the method that is invoked when we pass a batch of inputs into the model. So in the forward method, we get a batch of data as an input, and we call xb, which is a batch of data, dot reshape -1, 784. Right, so xb.reshape -1, 784 indicates to PyTorch that we want a view of the xb tensor with 2 dimensions, where the length along the second dimension is 28 by 28 or 784. Right, and one of the arguments to reshape can be set to -1. In this case, we are setting the first dimension, and to let PyTorch figure it out automatically based on the shape of the original tensor. So since the original tensor is of the shape 100 by 1 by 28 by 28, now these three become combined into 784. So the first dimension is of length 100. Now the advantage with putting -1 here is that we can work with batches of different sizes, and we don't have to hard code a particular batch size inside our model. Okay, so now that once we've reshaped the input batch, we can then pass it into self.linear and get the outputs of the model, and we return the output. So with this, the definition of our custom model class is complete, and we can instantiate it into a variable called model. Note that the model no longer has a .weight and .bias attribute, as they are now inside the .linear attribute. But it does have a .parameters method which contains a list of weights and biases and can be used with a PyTorch optimizer. And a new custom model can be used in the exact same way as before. So let's see if it works. So there you go. As we pick a batch of data from the train loader and we pass it into the model, we get back an output of the size 100 by 10. So we have a vector of size 10 for each image that was passed in. And this is one of the sample outputs, and this is another. So for each of the 100 images, we get 10 outputs, one for each class. And as discussed earlier, we'd like these outputs to represent the probabilities for these particular classes 0 to 9. But for that, the elements of each output row must lie between 0 to 1, and they must add up to 1, which is clearly not the case here, as we have a bunch of negative values and some values can be larger and some are smaller. So to convert the output rows into probabilities, we use the softmax function, which has the following formula. So first we replace each element yi in the output row by e to the power yi, which makes all the elements positive. Then we divide each element by the sum of all the elements to ensure that they add up to 1. Now while it's easy to implement the softmax function, and you should try it, we will use the implementation that is provided within PyTorch because it works well with multi-dimensional tensors, which in this case is a list of output rows. So we import torch.nn.functional as f, which is where the softmax function is included, and we invoke the softmax function on the outputs while also providing the dimension along which the softmax must be applied. Notice that we must apply the softmax independently for each output row. That is why we pass dimension equal to 1. So let us do that and let us look at some sample probabilities. So this is the output of this is the probabilities based on this row, right? So each of these have been first raised to the power of e. Each of these have been raised to e to the power yi, and then they have been divided by the total, converting them into probabilities, right? So as you can see now, each row now sums up to 1. And finally, we can determine the predicted label for each image by simply choosing the index of the element with the highest probability in each row. And this is done by using torch.max, which returns the largest element and the index of the largest element along a particular dimension, right? So we call torch.max on the probabilities along the first dimension. This returns the value of the maximum probability and the predictions. And we can print out these predictions. As you can see, these are the predicted labels for the 100 images that we passed in. And the numbers printed above, let's compare them with the actual labels. Okay, so if you look carefully, clearly the predicted and the actual labels are completely different. And obviously that's because we have started with the randomly initialized weights and biases. So we need to train the model, that is adjust the weights and biases using gradient descent to make better predictions.